differently here than they do in America. You know, in America, it's still, everything's all split up, you know, still in America. You know, you have like one scene for this type of music and a whole nother scene for another type of music. And the moment you try to put it all together, you know, they get all uptight with you, you know. Here, they just, you know, they give you more freedom to play. And I love that. You know, they let you do what you want to do anytime you want to.
Well, let you?
Yeah.
Well, sorry, but you just said you had freedom to play. Well, if you have freedom, people don't let you do anything. You just do it.
There's nothing in the drawer.
It's in the bloody drawer, man. Look for it. But, you know, good on you. You're coming over, you're enjoying yourself. On behalf of England, well, on behalf of Black England, welcome.
Oh, thank you.
I would think that maybe I hadn't had much chance to see Black England. You know, Brixton, Notting Hill.
I don't break it down like Black England or White England.
But it is like that. They break it down. Or maybe you haven't had your share of hassles over here. I've written in the papers that they talk about your music. Wild and tribal and violent.
Words, man. Just words. Shit. They're all just words. I don't get uptight about them words, you know?
But they don't use those words when they're talking about Jeff Beck or Eric Clapton. You know, when they play the blues, it's acceptable. But when you play the blues, you're a violent, black abomination. Thank you. England is different to America. You know, our race issues are more subtle. This New England was built on the Windrush.
You heard of that? You know what it is? Windrush?
I've never heard of that.
After the war, right? Caribbeans, well, West Indians, they got lured to England, you know? Lots of signs all over the place advertising work and jobs. Come on, come over, work hard for a better life.
Yeah, possibilities.
Yeah, but there weren't no possibilities. No housing, no decent pay. There's a class system here in England.
Notting Hill, man.
There was hard work.
Those
There was
teddy
hard
boys are
work, yes,
fucking
but
black
there was
people up.
no better life.
Yeah, but it's hard all over now for everybody, right? You know? I mean, people are just people, you know, just like animals. Animals are gonna be animals, right? I mean, picking their noses, picking their asses, you know.
Yeah. Animals are animals, yes, yes. And to the animals, you'll never be... And look, you know, I'm saying this brother to brother, all right? You'll never be nothing to them but a curiosity. And that's the truth. They don't let you up on that stage. They want you up there. They're electric wogs.
Oh, that's cold, man.
All right, look, you're fooling around with all these white kids, but it's black British who need someone to inspire them.
Inspire, man.
Why is that funny to
Come on,
you?
you're putting things on me that I
Well,
don't
maybe
even want to be.
You could be a symbol.
I don't even understand. What are you talking about?
You could be a symbol.
I'm just playing my guitar.
Play music to your people.
My people. They're all my people. What every last one of them, they're my people.
Jimmy, the people you got around you now, they don't get it.
If you are going up on that stage just so you can go up on that stage, you're wasting yourself. Your music should be notes of protest.
Right the hell on, man.
Protests all over with. Everybody wants solutions now, you know.
All right, so you're getting up on the stage with all your gyrating and your gimmicks. Is that your solution?
I'm sick of everybody talking about these gimmicks, man. You know, the world is nothing but a great big fat gimmick. Wars, you know, napalm bombs and all this kind of stuff. You know, you got people getting burnt up on television, you know, right in front of our faces. You know, all this violence, and that's not my scene, man.
All right, so what is your scene? Laying back and doing nothing?
And I should be like you, do exactly what you're doing, huh? Talking shit and smoking weed, huh? Because, yeah, the weed is good, man, but this shit that you're talking, man, you really want to change things? When the power of love takes over the love of power, that's when things will change.
Oh boy. As you saw this video, and this is Black Eyes TV once again. This is Terry Riggs, Mr. Riggs, your UK tour guide to the rest of the world. As I always say, Knowledge is key, but you have to be able to understand it to gain the wisdom. So by doing your research, you will get the better understanding of what's going on. But today, we have a notorious big champion, a revolutionist, and the one they call Micheal X. Check out the information, check out the videos, and get a more understanding and do your research, because I'm telling you, follow the money and you will find the truth. Understand the movement that's always been there, because there's nothing new under the sun. In Great Britain, it's just a mirror reflection of the United States. But we're all the same people around the world. There is nothing different, just the environment. So yes, check out all the info, check out everything else, and keep on sharing, like and subscribe, and continue to see the info as we go through this path of understanding Micheal X. See you on the other side. Peace.
My ancient aura is gold. 444 horses is the force that I own.
X, born Micheal de Freitas in Trinidad and Tobago, was a self-styled black revolutionary and civil rights activist in 1960s London. He was also known as Michael Abdul Malik and Abdul Malik. Convicted of murder in 1972, Micheal X was executed by hanging in 1975 in Port of Spain's Royal Jail. Biography: Micheal de Freitas was born in Trinidad to an Bay-practicing black woman from Barbados and an absent Portuguese father from St. Kitts. Encouraged by his mother to pass for white, Red Mike was a headstrong youth and was expelled from school at the age of 14. In 1957, he emigrated to the United Kingdom, where he settled in London and worked as an enforcer and frontman for the slum landlord Peter Rachman. By the mid-1960s he had renamed himself Micheal X, and became a well-known exponent of black power in London. Writing in The Observer in 1965, Colin McGlashan called him the authentic voice of black bitterness. In 1965, under the name Abdul Malik, he founded the Racial Adjustment Action Society. In 1967 he was involved with the counterculture hippie organization the London Free School through his contact with John Hoppy Hopkins, which both helped widen the reach of the group, at least in the Notting Hill area, and create problems with local police who disliked his involvement. Micheal and the LFS were instrumental in organizing the first outdoor Notting Hill Carnival later that year. Later that year, he became the first non-white person to be charged and imprisoned under the UK's Race Relations Act, which was designed to protect Britain's black and Asian populations from discrimination. He was sentenced to 12 months in jail for advocating the immediate killing of any white man seen laying hands on a black woman. He also said white men have no soul. In 1969, he became the self-appointed leader of a Black Power commune on Holloway Road, North London called the Black House. The commune was financed by a young millionaire benefactor named Nigel Samuel. Micheal X said, "They've made me the Archbishop of violence in this country. But that get a gun rhetoric is over. We're talking of really building things in the community needed by people in the community. We're keeping a sane approach." John Lennon and Yoko Ono donated a bag of their hair to be auctioned for the benefit of the Black House. In what the media called the slave collar affair, Jewish businessman Marvin Brown was enticed to the Black House, viciously attacked, and made to wear a spiked slave collar around his neck as Micheal X and others threatened him in order to extort money. The Black House closed in the autumn of 1970. The two men found guilty of assaulting Marvin Brown were imprisoned for 18 months. The Black House burned down in mysterious circumstances, and soon Micheal X and 4 colleagues were arrested for extortion. His bail was paid by John Lennon in January 1971. In February 1971, he fled to his native Trinidad, where he started an agricultural commune devoted to black empowerment 16 miles east of the capital, Port of Spain. "The only politics I ever understand is the politics of revolution," he told the Trinidad Express. "The politics of change, the politics of a completely new system." He began another commune, also called the Black House, which, in February 1972, also burned down in a fire. Murder trial. Police who had come to the commune to investigate the fire discovered the bodies of Joseph Skerritt and Gail Benson, members of the commune. They had been hacked to death and separately buried in shallow graves. Benson, who had been going under the name Hale Kimger, was the daughter of Conservative MP Leonard F. Plug. She had met Michael X through her relationship with Malcolm X's cousin Hakeem Jamal. Michael X fled to Guyana a few days later and was captured there. He was charged with the murder of Skerritt and Benson, but was never tried for the latter crime. A witness at his trial claimed that Skerritt was a member of Malik's Black Liberation Army, and had been killed by him because he refused to obey orders to attack a local police station. Malik was found guilty and sentenced to death. The Save Malik Committee, whose members included Angela Davis, Dick Gregory, Kate Millett and others, including the well-known radical lawyer William Kunstler, who was paid by John Lennon, pleaded for clemency, but he was hanged in 1975. Other members of the group were tried for Benson's murder. It was asserted that Benson had been shown an open grave and was then pushed in it and hacked it by Michael X with a machete on her neck. Legacy. Under the name Michael Abdul Malik, Michael Ten was the author of From Michael Freitas to Michael X. Michael X also left behind fragments of a novel about a romantic black hero who wins the abject admiration of the narrator, a young English woman named Lena Boyd Richardson. Inspecting the hero's bookshelf, Lena Boyd Richardson is impressed at finding Salam Bar. I discover that he not only have the books but actually reads and understands them. I was absolutely bowled, literally. I took a seat, and gazed upon this marvel, Mike. Cultural references. Michael X is the subject of the essay Michael X and the Black Power Killings in Trinidad by versus Naples, collected in The Return of Eva Pura Cubden and the Killings in Trinidad, and is also believed to be the model for the fictional character Jimmy Ahmed in Naples' 1975 novel Gorillas. Michael X is the secondary antagonist in The Bank Job, a dramatization of a real-life bank robbery in 1971. The film claims that Michael X was in possession of indecent photographs of Princess Margaret and used them to avoid criminal prosecution by threatening to publish them. He was played by Peter DeJersey. Michael X and his trial are the subject of a chapter in Jeffrey Robertson's legal memoir The Justice Game. Michael X plays a part in Make Believe, a True Story, a memoir by Diana Athill. Michael X is the eponymous title of a play, by the writer Vanessa Walters, that takes the form of a 1960s Black Power rally and was performed at the Tabernacle Theatre, Powis Square, London W11, in November 2008. Michael X is portrayed in a scene opposite Jimi Hendrix in the film All Is By My Side based on Jimi's early years in the music industry. Further reading, Malik, Michael Abdul. From Michael de Freitas to Michael X. Levy, William and Michael, John. Souvenir program for the official lynching of Michael Abdul Malik with poems, stories, sayings by the condemned. Humphrey, Derek. False Messiah, the story of Michael X. Naples, versus Michael X and the Black Power Killings in Trinidad, in The Return of Eva Pura Cubden and the Killings in Trinidad. Sharp, James. The Life and Death of Michael X. Athill, Diane, Make Believe, A True Story. Williams, John. Michael X, A Life in Black and White. Reference.
We just got cheesed off with it, you know. It was getting in my ears. It's just the same way I grew it, you know. I just felt like having it. Now I feel like having it short.
It's for the new year, you know.
We wanted a new year head, you know.
I don't want to sound unkind, but don't you think that this may have been construed as just another Lennon stunt?
Well, we tried to keep it quiet.
Nice if it is.
I don't care. It came useful for this, you know.
Yes.
More stunts like that.
Yeah, the more stunts the better. But when we cut it, we didn't think of that. We were just cutting it in private in the farmhouse. And I asked the chick that cut it to be quiet, and she lasted 3 days before she broke the news. Because I could have driven around Europe, you see, in disguise. Nobody would have known. But
Yes, that's what we
she
wanted to
just
do.
couldn't keep her mouth shut.
Paranoid suspicions are a predictable byproduct of a plutocratic cult
still ring-fenced by force of arms, a leftover from an empire in which murder was a commonplace, but whose embers retained their powers of destruction. Notably, when Trinidad became a dominion in 1962, a UK court was retained for its appeals, namely, the Judicial Committee of the Privy Council, and the Queen herself signs off the court's business. Though Britain would shortly abolish capital punishment, Trinidad's government maintained the practice, and the anomaly meant that the Queen approved death warrants referred to her from this judicial committee. Thus it is the case in the Caribbean, where Elizabeth is Queen, in Belize, the Bahamas, Barbados, St. Lucia, and Jamaica, and in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, St. Christopher and Nevis, that a royal pen wields terminal power on death row.
What are your plans? I am returning to Trinidad to liberate my brothers and sisters from the enslavement of the British colonialists.
What about the charges you are facing? How can you leave England?
They are liars and cowards. If they had anything against me but their fear of me, I'd be tried and jailed.
Thus, as a direct result, on the 16th of May 1975, in Royal Jail, Port of Spain, the prison superintendent arrived at a cell door at dawn, and he handed Michael de Freitas, the prisoner waiting inside, the dismissal of his last appeal, signed Elizabeth R. Michael was hooded, then led to the gallows under armed guard, and, while there's no death penalty in her own country, Michael was hanged by the neck by royal command until Michael X, also known as Abdul Malik, was pronounced dead. Years before, Michael had said that the monarchy would last longer if Her Majesty were to have a black baby. The British press were appalled, as they assumed his flip remark meant that Michael was offering his services as a stud. On death row, Michael fell to wondering if my cheekener caught me up. Then he'd say, with a fatalistic grin, "So now I'm in a cell in her royal jail, and now it's her powerful royal noose that sends me to her kingdom come. Can you dig it?" In his cage, a light bulb would burn throughout the night. "We hear the flying of the trap," Michael told visitors, and he'd indicate the death chamber just a few feet away. Then he'd whisper, "We can hear it distinctly." He'd also hear a Lord Kitchener calypso coming through the death row's radio macabre crackle. When the judge accept the verdict, he let the hammer bang. Malik, he say nothing, but Queen say one to hang. For in the words of Lord Diplock, the senior presiding judge, their lordships will humbly advise Her Majesty that the appeal should be dismissed. His death warrant had been signed by the Queen on the 14th of May, 1975. And when what the monarch had thinkingly or unthinkingly signed had been conveyed to the Governor-General, Michael would say to his wife, Desiree, "Better go home. This is no place for you, pretty girl." In a manuscript smuggled out of death row, Michael described how on a Wednesday the voices of all the prisoners would acquire a higher pitch, for those in the cells lived in dread of an impending message from the Governor-General. Each week, death row's inhabitants were prepared for execution, which fell on a Friday. "You are weighed," Michael wrote. "The trap of the gallows is greased. All await the dreaded word. Greetings, if your time has arrived. Then, if it has, from the office at the far end of the corridor come some officials. They'll stand in front of your cell, and they'll salute you with this word from the Governor-General. Greetings." Everyone waits for that terrible word. Most times, hymns are sung. I pray, I hope someone somewhere will listen. For in all holy books it is written that justice should be tempered with mercy wherever possible. But there was no mercy for Michael, just a white hood. If there is anyone in Trinidad who should get glory for my coming, Abdul Malik is that person. Muhammad Ali had said of Michael X, who'd invited him to see the conditions his people were living in. Then Allen Ginsberg wrote of a new awareness that we were all on the same boat of change, and of being armed to create Eden or hell's fiery gardens on our little ball rolling through the solar system. Ginsberg added that Micheal was part of that communal effort to work out our local destiny. I pray with him that mercy be the last judge of the world, and not our own cruel, confused hearts. And in this context, and the context of his karmic nobility, I here plead for his life. Om ha-hom. But with a pen stroke, the Queen showed she preferred Betjeman to the poems of Allen Ginsberg or Muhammad Ali. Kate Millett protested, "It's the hideous combination of racism and sexism that permits these kinds of trials to happen." Predictably, an appeal to the great-great-granddaughter of Queen Victoria, legendary for her stiff-necked views, such as "Women's rights are a mad, wicked folly," were ignored, and all pleas to Buckingham Palace went unanswered, indicating that the head of the Anglican Church and the defender of the faith favours a more Old Testament view of religion. Thus, rather than Christ's revolutionary message of forgiveness, her governor's greetings brought revenge. Micheal was hanged, then drawn, meaning he was left to swing, it being the royal jail's colonial tradition. In London, those who felt British hypocrisy had overreached itself wrote Michael's name on the walls of Buckingham Palace. Michael X, repeated 6 times, was followed by Michael Abdul Malik, but instead of an X, they added graveyard crosses. On the 6th of July, 1999, 25 years after Michael's death, the same royal custom persists, with 9 executions in 4 days. Trinidad's prison commissioner, Cipriani Baptiste, told the press that the royal jail's gallows had been freshly oiled. The condemned, Joel Ram Singh, Stephen Eversley, and Bhagwandeen Singh, had once more been pricked by the royal parka, as had Dole Chadi, Joy Ramaya, and Ram Kelawin Singh, Clive Thomas, and Robin Gopal, and Russell Sankarali. No human life, no matter how wretched, is without worth, said Sister Teresa d'Alva, a Catholic nun campaigning outside royal jail against the mass execution. The men are still human beings, children of God. The executions would take place despite appeals from Amnesty International and from 3 Nobel Peace Prize winners, including Bishop Tutu. It was as if the Parker pen's owner, always above politics, felt empowered to strike through all pleas from the great and the good. But given that it's Her Majesty's courts, Her Majesty's prison service, Her Majesty's Inspectorate of Constabulary, Her Majesty's armed forces, Her Majesty's government, and taxes and subjects, being quite so inordinately majestic, could go to your head.
Straight to the airport, where strict security is being maintained. To board a BWIA, a British West Indian Airways plane, then to Port of Spain, Trinidad. I was just in communication with the police commissioner in Trinidad, and they are awaiting his arrival over there. He'll be escorted by the officer who captured him, Senior Superintendent Ivan Crandon of the Guyana Police Force.
Keep safety going to the jeep. Look at this, sir. Take your break that hand, break that hand. One more. And a makeshift cut under a shed near to a coal pit. It was just about before dawn, so we waited until it was clear enough to speak to him. Then I aroused.
He was asleep, was he?
Yes, he was.
And then what happened?
Well, when he woke up, the picture perhaps did not meet with his approval. He saw so many strange bits of steel around. So he thought that there was no need for all the fuss. I told him, well, there would be no need if he just come along, and he did so. That's all.
And didn't offer any sort of struggle?
No struggle whatever.
Thank you very much indeed. Discovered. Alec's trek through the jungle was a desperate and hopeless gamble. And his chance.
Somewhere in London town, but he never let the world forget that he was a West Indian. He was born and raised in Trinidad, the land of the olive stove. And what were the dreams that this man had? I guess I'll never know. I told Melly, why don't you try? Don't you know you're condemned to die? I bet what a place to say. Boy, I'm sure I tell that you cry yourself in the head. You're distant and some say he was so good, others say he was bad, but Sheriff never had a chance to say which side he was on. I shot up his possibilities and what a heart of the grave, killed by the hands of his own best friends in such a shocking way. I told Melly, why don't you try? Don't you know you're condemned to die? Believe what the Bible says. What's done in darkness gotta come to light. And this is what happened, yeah. While Malik was having fun down in Guyana, Sheriff and Joe and Friday was dug up in a reamer, buried in his garden wall in less than a 6-foot grave. They were young and beautiful, but they killed them anyway. That's old Malik, now don't be scared. Everyone's gotta die someday. Believe what the good book says. Those who live by the sword gotta die by the sword. And this mosquito and
That's further than far-fetched. And as for my car test, I'm taking Elliot Wilson on a star quest.
I was born on a throne. I'm a king, I need a court of my own. All these rings like I'm ignoring my phone. My ancient aura is gold. Yeah. My ancient aura is gold. I've been touring and exploring the globe. It's how I hoarded this assortment of stones. My ancient aura is gold. Yeah. My ancient promise I look 20 as a 40-year-old. My ancient aura is gold.